My prediction for Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev and my fight breakdown. First off, let's start by debunking some of the narratives for reasons why people are picking Islam or JDM in this fight. A lot of people are talking about the Burns or the Dustin fight as reasons why Islam or JDM is going to lose this matchup. I think it's completely unfair, especially if we look at the Burns fight. It was 1-1 going into the third. I know the judges had it 2-0 Burns, but on damage, it was very clearly 1-1. And even in the third round, people talk about it like JDM was losing the third round. But if you rewatch it, JDM hurt Burns on the feet early on, which is what made Burns shoot. And even though Burns did get the takedown, he controlled him for a little bit. On damage, JDM did all the damage in that round. And even in that fight, I think even if he didn't land the knee, on damage, it still should have been 2-1. And in that fight too, JDM had a broken arm. He was fighting with one arm. And I know people talk about his takedown defense. People were saying, oh, he got taken down by Burns. He's going to get taken down by Bilal. But he's improved so much from the Burns fight to the Bilal fight that I'm sure he's going to improve even more from the Bilal fight to the Islam Makhachev fight. Now for the Dustin Poirier fight, people are talking about, well, Islam struggled with old man Poirier, with washed Dustin Poirier. He's not going to be able to beat Jack Della Maddalena because of this. And people talk about Dustin like he was like Anderson Silva in 2020, completely washed. When Dustin, he definitely wasn't in his prime, but he still was one of the best lightweights. It wasn't like Dustin had no business being there or had no chance against Islam Makhachev. But even with Islam, even if he didn't get the clutch finish in the fifth round, one of the best grappling sequences of 2024, he still would have won a 49-46 unanimous decision, and he still was clearly winning the fight, even though there was one or two close rounds. Outside of round 4, Islam Makhachev won every single round in my opinion, and he was on his way to winning the fifth round. It was a very close round until the finish. And at the time, Dustin was still one of the best boxers in the UFC. Islam looked great in the boxing. He looked great on the feet. And even though his grappling wasn't as dominant as we're used to seeing, his striking looked massively improved. Islam Makhachev moving up to 170, he's going to look even better. He's not going to be as drained as he was at 155. Now, people are also talking about the Volk fight. Because Islam struggled against Volk, who's a featherweight in the first fight, he's not going to beat someone like JDM at 170, who's much bigger and is arguably almost as well-rounded as Volkanovski. This I don't agree with because people keep on talking about how Volk's a featherweight, this and that, and people are talking about him like he's an unranked flyweight. Like Volkanovski, yes, he's a featherweight, but he had 7 months. He had 2 training camps to bulk up to 155, and he is a short featherweight, but he's not a small one. He weighed in about the same as Ilia at about 166 pounds. He's not a small featherweight, and even with him being a weight class below Islam, he still is the greatest featherweight of all time and one of the greatest fighters of all time. And Islam beat him in a decision which was competitive. I do think Islam won that fight. A lot of people say it was a robbery, but I feel like that's only because people didn't expect Volk to do as good as he did. And because he did very good, people were just going to give him the win because he massively overperformed. So while it was a very competitive fight, I think Islam has improved since this fight. I mean, this was almost 3 years ago now. And I think it's one of the greatest wins in UFC history, beating Volkanovski, one of the greatest fighters of all time. In my opinion, he's in the top 5, is a elite win. And I still think it was one of the best performances of Makhachev's career and probably his hardest fight. Now, getting into the actual fight, what makes this a scary matchup for Islam Makhachev against JDM? The big concern I have for Islam is he's not really known for his pressure. He's not really a pressure fighter. Usually he's either in the middle or on the back foot because he is a great counter striker. This is going to make it a little bit harder to shoot on JDM if he's on the back foot, and JDM knows he has to pressure Islam Makhachev. He has to stay in the center. He cannot back up in this fight. And Islam, his takedowns aren't the best in the open. He had a really good takedown in the open against Volkanovski in the center, which is arguably the best takedown entry of his career. But Islam, he gets most of his takedowns against the cage, and he likes to stay in the clinch in this area. So because of this, Islam is going to have to push back JDM. I think the most likely scenario is he stands in the middle, he gets at kicking range, he lands a few kicks, lands a few shots, pushes back JDM a little bit, and then shoots his takedown. I think if you compare this to his past opponents, I think JDM is going to be much more willing and not as scared of the takedown compared to a lot of his other opponents. So while it is possible that Islam can do all of these things, it's just we haven't really seen it before because he hasn't really had this issue. Because while Dustin Poirier, I don't think he was that washed, JDM, I think, currently is a better boxer and definitely a better grappler compared to Dustin Poirier. He's in his prime, and he's a lot bigger in this fight compared to Dustin Poirier. Now, what makes this a scary matchup for JDM? I think that even if JDM is going to be able to stuff the takedown initially, there's going to be more coming, and I think that Islam can just hold him against the cage for periods of time and land knees to the body. He's very good in the clinch, and we did see Belal rack up some control time against the cage, and obviously Belal in the clinch compared to Islam, it's not even comparable. JDM keeps a very low stance, especially when he's throwing a jab or a cross, to avoid getting taken down. And I think because of this, Islam has a chance to land a knee up the middle because it is kind of predictable when JDM does this. He did this constantly in the Belal fight. Also, with how good JDM's head movement is, he always leans to one side. In the Belal fight, what seemed to be a jab from Belal, JDM moved his head, I believe, all the way to the right, and this is a perfect setup for Islam Makhachev, being a southpaw versus orthodox, to throw a jab, then land the head kick. He landed it against Volkanovski, and I think it is going to be there against JDM. I don't think he's going to knock out JDM with a head kick, but it is going to be there for him in this fight. I also think when Islam gets down JDM, I think he's going to have better control compared to Belal. Belal makes a lot of mistakes on the ground. We saw that against Leon Edwards. Leon was able to get up and reverse the position because Belal just isn't as good on the ground compared to Islam Makhachev. Islam is going to be heavier on top, and it's going to be a little bit harder for JDM to get up in this fight. Now, I still think JDM is going to be able to scramble up to his feet and get up and stuff some of the takedowns, but when he does, he's in risk of getting submitted by Islam. We know Belal has no submission threat at all compared to Makhachev, who's one of the most dangerous guys on the ground. So I am worried when he gets up to his feet, he's going to rush and he's going to end up getting submitted. Now, I think some other factors in this fight that they are pretty even in. They both can go 5 rounds. They both have pretty good cardio. I think they both have really good chins, and I think Islam at 170, his chin's going to be even better. Both are well-rounded. This isn't really a striker versus grappler matchup. JDM, his grappling is pretty good, and Makhachev is one of the best strikers. And even though JDM is a welterweight, he's not one of the biggest welterweights, and they are going to have a very similar frame compared to each other. So the 3 possible outcomes, in my opinion, for this fight: the first one, JDM wins by decision, a very close 48-47. He makes it a war. It's super entertaining, and he's able to get up to his feet. But Islam holds his own on the feet, but it's just not enough, and JDM just barely edges out the fight. Option number 2, Islam beats JDM by a 48-47, 49-46 decision. Maybe he wins a round by grappling. On the feet, he wins one by striking, and the others are pretty close, but he's able to just win 1 or 2 of the other rounds. And then option number 3, in my opinion, is Islam Makhachev submits JDM in the 2nd or 3rd round. JDM rushes and he gets up to his feet, but while getting up to his feet, he gets submitted, he gets caught, and Islam Makhachev wins the fight by finish. Now, for an early pick, because I am going to do a full card prediction video, which I don't normally do, but this card is so good, I feel like I have to. I am going to lean Islam Makhachev in this fight, probably by the 2nd option. I know he's a great finisher, but I just don't see him finishing JDM. I do think that Makhachev is going to struggle at times to get him down, and I do think JDM is going to be able to get up, but I do think his control is going to be a lot better. I think he's going to shoot earlier compared to Belal. I don't think he's going to let JDM ease into the fight, and I think on the feet, he still is going to hold his own, and it's going to be super competitive on the feet, especially if he starts getting the takedowns and JDM isn't able to let his hands go as much compared to the Belal fight. So while it is super close, I know Islam is like a -250 favorite. I think it should be a lot closer than that. I am going to probably pick Islam Makhachev in this fight. Now, one thing that I'm scared of is I think if Islam wins, I don't think that he's going to fight Ilia Topuria. I think if he loses to JDM, he's going to have to go back down to 155. But if he wins, he's not going to want to go back down when he's already the champion at welterweight. He'd have to vacate the belt that he just won, and he doesn't want to do the weight cut again. He's probably going to see easier contenders at 170, and he's already said if the UFC doesn't pay him, he's not going to fight Ilia Topuria, and I just have a feeling we're not going to see that fight, which is a shame because I feel like that's the biggest fight the UFC could put on right now, especially if Islam beats JDM. His stock rises even more, but there's a chance that we never see that fight, and it joins fights like GSP versus Silva or Tony versus Habib as like what if fights. But I'm gonna go with Islam. Let me know who you're picking. Let me know who you disagree with, how you think JDM or Islam is going to win this fight. Let me know what you think.